conversation, Representative Tom Emmer from Minnesota. Let's give him a round of applause. And I'm turning it back over to you, Mike.
And he knew my uncle, so I really liked him. And he's Republican. It is a small place. I don't like that many Republicans, but I like him. So Tom, you've been a great, voice for crypto. You wouldn't think of Minnesota as the crypto hub. How did you stumble into it, get into it? Why?
I've been in Congress. I'm wrapping up my 8th year. And the first 2 that I was here, I had a guy that worked for me in the legislative shop, as they call it, which really isn't a shop. We don't make anything. We make problems, I think. But Landon Zinda was a Minnesota kid that was doing the research stuff, and he gave me a book called The Age of Cryptocurrency. I read it, and I told you yesterday, I gave it back to him and said, hey, man, I'm in Congress. This has no pictures in it whatsoever. I need a book with pictures. But the point of it is I read it. And what it did for me, I'm a guy who grew up with a generation that likes to feel a newspaper. I'm a guy who likes to punch the buttons well, they don't exist anymore, but in the car. I want them back, right? To listen to the radio and pick what I'm going to listen to. I come from a totally different generational experience than you do. The good news for me is I got 7 kids. The oldest is 31. The youngest is about to turn 21, so they keep you connected to this stuff all the time. And you guys all think different than we do. You process information so much differently. Our generation, Mike, we used to walk up to a file cabinet, we open it up, we'd pull out a file that was labeled with whatever, and then we'd pull out the files within the files. You guys don't think that way. You guys are in a virtual world with the same file system where you're thinking in 3D, in 4D. I mean, you're way beyond where we're at. So it excited me when I read it. Plus, it plays into something else that I believe in more than anything. And that is, our founders created a country that was supposed to be an opportunity, equal opportunity for everyone, all right? This technology, blockchain technology, and crypto is facilitating the evolution of Web 2, as they refer to it, to the ownership economy, or Web 3. This thing has the ability to free all of us and restore or create a renaissance of freedom like I think our founders intended. You should be able to do whatever you want without government telling you, oh, that's all you can have, or we need to answer. Well, because think about it. The greatest form of legalized mob activity is the federal government. Sorry, I'm just a little, this is where I love to get into. And you and I, they want us to pay the vig all the time. Imagine a world where we have government. There's always a place for government. Good. We haven't seen much of in the last decade plus. But there's a place for government. But imagine a world where you, talented people, instead of having to use an intermediary like YouTube, today if you're an aspiring singer, you want to put content out on the web, you got to go to an intermediary, a platform like YouTube. You put your music on there, you expose yourself. Then what do you derive from it? Unless you're selling ads directly to that YouTube site, they're the ones that benefit. Imagine a world where now you can create an NFT that is you, and you put it on the internet with no intermediary, and guess what? People think you are talented. They love listening to your voice. I listen to you. I pay pennies to hear what you're singing. I call Mike and go, God, you got to check out this, whoever it is, talent. And it spreads, much like influencers do today. So I look at it, Mike, as it really is the future. And the problem that I'm having, as I told you yesterday, is government looked at this back in 2008, 2009, 2010. That white paper came out, and they're like, oh, look at the kids. Look at the kids. Isn't that fun? They're playing with, oh, it's Bitcoin. It's funny money. They're having fun. Let them have fun. By about 2012, they went, oh, shit, this might actually stick. We're going to have to kill it. Well, they realized they can't kill it because it's going to exist. So now we're in the stage where your government is trying to absorb it. Your government is trying to say, we've got a 2-tier banking system, traditional banking system, that has a certain set of rails that everybody plugs into. boy, we can't have this disruptive technology just completely changing the way our financial system works, so we have to absorb it. And one of the big ways they're trying to do that is through something called a central bank digital currency. I am one of the ones that you will probably, if you pay attention to this, see I'm going to oppose this with everything I've got, because this is nothing more than another surveillance tool for our government to use. China's already perfected it. Canada used it against the truckers. Trudeau actually shut down their source of income on the internet. And the other thing, and I'll stop, Mike, but the other thing is this country should be it's not just the melting pot, it is the originator of all things. What we're doing right now, our government is pushing these opportunities to the Bahamas, pushing these opportunities overseas. They should be right here. And maybe one of you in this room has got the next great idea that helps us make that jump. But think about it. You got to worry about the SEC. You got to worry about the FDIC. You got to worry about this alphabet soup of government regulatory agencies and what they might tell you. Oh, sorry, you've got a great idea, but you know, we now have 87,000 more IRS agents, and we've decided we want some of the money that you're earning. That's what we're worried about now.
That's a great start.
Other than that, I don't have any opinions.
You can feel from Tom that crypto, Bitcoin, the blockchain, has libertarian roots, has roots in freedom and privacy. It also has this ability to cut out the middleman. We were talking about, right now, this year, $8 billion are getting paid by people who bounce checks to the big banks. $8 billion in overdrafts. Broadly rich people aren't bouncing checks, right? It's people from challenged communities that are often bouncing checks. And so we've got this system that is skewed to the people at the top, and banking the unbanked is talked about but hasn't really been a priority. Matter of fact, if you look at ATM fees and so many different fees that people have to pay on their way up, it makes it harder and harder to save. And so I always see this as both a progressive issue and a libertarian issue. Do you think, maybe I'm the only guy that sees it that way, but it feels to me that it should be bipartisan, and we're starting to get you working across the aisle on some legislation. What's the chance that this really becomes a bipartisan issue?
So, Mike, what I do every time, and I'm going to, hopefully you guys are going to carry this forward, this is a non-partisan issue. I hate the term bipartisan. Why? Because I stand in front of you and I say bipartisan, what did I just do? I told you there's at least 2 different opinions in the room. No, this is nonpartisan. What you're going to find out today, and I saw the people that you're having come in and talk, Ro Khanna and Tom Emmer could not be more different on our politics. Richie Torres, who's in the office next to me, he's a New York representative. Richie Torres wrote an op-ed about 3 months ago that I was reading, and it's like, oh my God, I could have written this op-ed. We're like completely aligned, and yet we are so different, you wouldn't expect us to be in the same room together. But you got people like Richie, you got people like Gottheimer from New Jersey, you got people like Jake Auchincloss from Massachusetts. The list is getting bigger and bigger on the committee. Unfortunately, whether it's Republicans, which I encountered when I came into Congress, our original chairman, good guy, but he said, what's your priority? And I said, this is what I want to work on. And he said, well, I don't know much about it. So I gave him the book, Age of Cryptocurrency. Guy still hasn't given it back. I've got to do something about that. He owes me a book. But he didn't know. Maxine Waters, on the other side, my understanding is she knows a lot more about it, Mike, than she has let on, because she's got like family members who are actively involved, I've been told, in the space. But she's not moving any of it forward. So the key is going to be, over the next couple of years, I believe policymakers need to get out of your way. I believe we need to allow you, we should have more safe harbors so that if you do have the next great idea, the IRS doesn't come in after the fact and say to you, oh boy, you earned a bunch of money. You owe the man all this money. Okay, let's have safe harbors. Let's have loose guidelines for the SEC, for other, you got Kathy Kraniger here, who's going to tell you that's exactly what some of the last administration was trying to do. But even you guys had people up at the top who were so anti-crypto, and they're just afraid of it because I believe they don't understand it. They understand the traditional banking thing, and if I want to be snarky about it, it's because That's where they've made all their money. So they like the system as it exists. This system has the potential, because it's so disruptive, to create a whole new class of American success stories. And the one thing you see that really frustrates me about our government, you know, the Warren Buffetts, not to call him out and badmouth him, but the Warren Buffetts of this world, they climb the ladder of prosperity, they get to the top, and unlike Mike, who's sitting here in front of you, they close the trapdoor behind them and say, hey, this is great, isn't it? Great to be in America. Well, what about all the people that are down below you that want to climb that same ladder and be on the top? That's what this has the opportunity of doing, and it is a nonpartisan issue. I think you're going to see that in the next Congress.
I think one thing you touched on that I just want to highlight is this idea that there's some safe harbor for small businesses. I mean, just the regulatory reporting requirements around KYC, AML, around tax, around, you know, the tax code is so bizarre, around accounting. You know, if you're GAAP accounting or if you're IFRS accounting, all of these arcane things that a small business guy is just trying to get a business going. It feels essential to me that we create some sandbox, certainly for you know, communities that don't traditionally have huge access, so you don't get started and just get clobbered on the head. And so I applaud you for thinking that way. Tom, last question. It's most people out here are a lot younger than you and I.
No.
A lot
really?
are. Who's still in school? A lot still in school. You know, you're a congressman. You've had a great career. You've had a great life. You got 7 kids. One piece of advice for these guys.
Don't quit. Don't let. I see the new generation. You know, it's like every generation, right, Mike? When we were kids, it's about the generation that went before us. I remember a good friend, his dad passed away sadly early, and Mike got up to do the eulogy at his funeral. And the first thing he did was he took his pants and he pulled them right up under his nipples. Because back in the 50s and the 60s, that's how men wore their pants, right? And he walked around imitating his father. Every generation looks at the one that went ahead of them and, oh, they're out of touch, whatever. No, they're not out of touch. They just grew up in a different environment. You are growing up in the greatest environment that I believe we've ever had in history. If you think about it, you know, you got the Stone Age, then you got the Agrarian Age, then you got the Industrial Age. You guys get to live and grow in the technology age. I mean, think about what this is going to do. If you go back in history, look at why our cities developed the way they did. Because when you are in the agrarian age, guess what? You're going to give a little of your freedom away to your government, your local government, to protect you and to protect your property. But you're also going to be bringing all the produce in from the field and shipping it on waterways. That's why they developed the way they did. Then the industrial age, it's about all the labor that concentrates in these big cities. And keep in mind, it is just centralized. Everything is centralized so that you can get access to services and goods that you need. That's why the cities grow the way they do. You are in an age where, guess what? It is limitless. It's whatever your imagination can come up with. Mine is too small. My tiny little brain that grew up with rocks and sticks is too small to think the way you guys do. I'm amazed when I watch my own kids. I got a gamer who's number 7, right? He's studying rocks. And it's like, you're studying rocks, man. He goes, hey, Dad, they're a lot more than rocks. Okay, well, he sees the world much differently than I do. All you guys do, too. The advice would be, don't let someone from another generation tell you, hey, we don't do it that way here. We don't do it that way. It's like you say, well, thank you. Thanks, good to be with you, and then walk out the door and find a way to do what it is that you know in your heart is your passion and where you want to go. The world's going to be much better off for it, and you guys and your families and everybody around you in your communities are going to succeed beyond your wildest dreams. But the first thing is, when somebody tells you no, just smile at them. I was reading one of my devotional things the other day. It said, you just, when God puts something on you, you just go, oh, well, and move on. Be positive, right? So that's what I would tell you, because I remember I had an older lawyer tell me when I did something completely unlike anybody else in a certain space, and he goes, yeah, we don't do it that way. Well, guess what? I was right. He was wrong. It went all the way through the system. We changed the way those laws are applied in Minnesota in this certain area just because I wasn't willing to take some old partner's direction that you need to get out of that because that doesn't work. I look at you guys. Mine is so small. You guys can literally change the way people live, the way people live, breathe, and eat and succeed. Please, don't take no for an answer. Just keep climbing.
Guys, give it up to Congressman Tom Emmer.